Hello, everybody, for part two. Welcome. We are here for part two of our Recovery Month series. And tonight we are just going to talk about our Rise Above the Stigma of Addiction campaign, which we kicked off before COVID, 2019, 2018. I just linked our campaign page from our website in the comments, so you guys can go and check it out. We love to talk about our Rise Above campaign during Recovery Month just because it is all about reducing the stigma associated with not just addiction, but also the recovery process. I think a lot of people have maybe one preconceived notion about what recovery should look like or could look like or what successful recovery looks like. And really, for everyone, it looks a little bit different. And we want to raise awareness about that and just try to reduce the social stigma that's associated with the whole process. Because, well, let me start at the beginning. So we started Rise Above a couple years ago, like I mentioned, I think in 2018, with two very passionate coalition members who have firsthand knowledge of addiction and recovery and unfortunately death due to overdose. And so it was something that they were both very passionate about and had obviously a lot of personal experience with, which just brought all the heart and authenticity to what our campaign has grown to be. And our goals, with our campaign is to inspire hope and healing by increasing our community's understanding of addiction and just bringing that educational component to it. And also at the heart of it is to reduce the social stigma that discourages people from seeking help. And I'm going to talk more about that in a second. And then also to encourage honest dialogue about substance abuse disorders. By giving people the words they need to have the conversation. I think a lot of times people don't know how to even start, what words to use. And so that is another goal of this campaign. And so, like I said, we use a little bit of education, a little bit of storytelling, and also wanting to give people tangible tips and tools that they can actually use in their daily life to reduce the stigma for our friends and neighbors that are in the recovery community. And like I said, Recovery Month, obviously fantastic time to highlight our campaign. And so more about the stigma that discourages people from seeking help. So I feel like as a prevention professional, I feel like a lot of times when we think about what keeps somebody from seeking the help they need to get started on the recovery process or to restart the recovery process. And my mind, and I'm sure a lot of you go to access to care and, the cost associated with it and all these other structural barriers that we have in our system. And all those are obviously all valid barriers that we have and that we can work to lower. But another huge barrier is silent, and that is stigma. Stigma is, it can be institutional, it can be interpersonal, it can be internal. And again, our webpage that I linked in our comments kind of takes you through all those definitions and gives you examples of what that stigma can look like. But it's a silent little thing, and it is something that we wanted to focus on as a community coalition because unlike those big structural barriers like access to care and cost and things like that, that our coalition that just serves our communities, that's not necessarily the level at which we can make really lasting, deep change, but we can change stigma and the stigma that we experience on the day-to-day level from our friends and neighbors and acquaintances. Because, now I got it in the Sorry, I'm using my phone and somebody just tried to call me. So stigma acts as a silent barrier. It's like we never even think about it, but it's that, I don't want to ask for help because I don't want them to know that I need help with this thing that we have a really big stigma, and it's a big taboo topic, and I don't want to ask for help because I don't want to be made to feel shamed about my addiction, or even if it's not me who's struggling directly with substance abuse disorder, but maybe it's my kid, maybe it's my sister, maybe it's my mom, maybe it's a family member or friend, and I, in relation to that, feel shame and like I don't want to reach out because it's such a taboo topic in our community. And that is just, it breaks my heart to think that that could be the reason why somebody doesn't want to reach out and get help. Not because of cost, not because of access, not because of these larger, huge things that we have existing in our society, but just because of the interactions that they're afraid of having with their friends and colleagues and neighbors. And what if we could just make that a little bit easier? What if we could just take that part out and we could change it to our friends and neighbors and colleagues and family members standing beside us and helping us attack those other barriers that might be in our way, and having a friend and somebody next to you through that journey. So that's kind of why we wanted to do the campaign. The other big message that we're trying to get out, especially right now, early in our campaign, is talking about sharing experiences from people who are struggling with addiction or recovery, or have a friend or family member struggling, is to kind of give people tangible ideas of how they can help. Because I feel like a lot of people shy away, draw away, distance themselves from people who are struggling because they just feel uncomfortable. It's not something that they know. And so their immediate reaction is just to put their hands out and say like, ooh, like, I don't want to get involved in that. And so we asked a lot of people to contribute and say, fill in the blank. When I was struggling, what I really needed was blank. And hearing those responses and stuff was just so powerful, because there's so many things that we can do. And I know that a lot of us that, that have well-intentioned meaning behind it shy away, but it's because you don't want to make it worse, right? But there's so many ways you can be involved without being enabling in a negative way. And so that is something that we're trying to get the word out about. And you'll see a bunch of Facebook posts and Instagram posts going out over this next week, kind of filling with that fill in the blank sentence, giving us some really great, tangible ways that we can reach out as friends and neighbors to help somebody who's struggling with addiction. And another thing that we can do is we can share. We have a couple of giveaway items that go along with our campaign theme. We have this wonderful mug. It is 15 ounces. That can fit a lot of coffee or tea. Wonderful mug. It's beautiful. It has this wonderful blue color. We have these and our notebooks, which I'll show you in a minute, available for pickup at the Greendale Health Department. If you want to message us on Facebook, we'll arrange a pickup for you. Here's the notebook. It's great. Everyone needs a nice notebook. It's lined. I use mine for work every day. And we thought that these were just such great items that people can take and kind of share the message about our campaign. Maybe share with somebody who is struggling to get help, because we do also, if you go to our webpage, have a link to our Greendale and Hales Corners Substance Misuse Prevention and Resource Guide. It has a really nice local listing of support groups, treatment providers, and a whole range of things that could aid somebody or a family that is just looking for a place to start. Because I think it's, that can be a very overwhelming thing. And I'll wrap this up in a minute because we don't want to make the video too long. But I think that something I've learned personally, I have not experienced substance abuse disorder, and I don't have any close friends or family that have gone through it. But I think that at the heart of this kind of unintentional stigmatizing behavior that we can sometimes have with people is that when somebody's going through something in their life that you can just, you don't have a personal connection with, you haven't experienced it yourself, your immediate reaction is just to distance yourself, right? I lost my father when I was 26, and I could feel people kind of pulling away or kind of distancing because, of course, right, how many of my friends have gone through that same thing, right? But I felt it. I felt isolated. I felt alone. And it's not just, when sad things happen in your life, but when I had my baby last year, again, it was during a pandemic. But besides that, my friends that don't have kids, I did get less invites. I did get less communication because I think from their standpoint, they didn't want to bother me, right? But to me, I just needed any type of connection. And that was, as a new mom, I'm sure many of you who are moms and parents can relate that that newborn phase can be really isolating. And so when you translate that to somebody who's struggling with substance abuse or, is going through the recovery journey or beginning their recovery journey, if you haven't experienced that, it's just a natural thing to be like, oh, I don't know. That's not something I know. I don't know how to accommodate you at my party because I don't want to do anything that would make you, maybe, want to drink, or, do I not have any alcohol at all because I want to make you feel comfortable, or do you not want to be, treated any differently and kind of called out that way? I don't know. So maybe your immediate reaction is to just keep at arm's distance. But for those people going through those huge life events, like the last thing they need is to be isolated, right? So I encourage all of you to go to our campaign website or campaign page, I should say, on our Community Alliance website. I've linked it below. Kind of read through the information, comment if you I would love to hear about what you learned, maybe a new takeaway, or something you're going to do differently in the future to make people that are in the addiction or recovery journey feel not so alone, not so stigmatized. Share the resource guide. We do have the resource guide. Obviously, it's available on PDF online. We do have a couple hard copies through the health departments in Greendale and Hales Corners, and we'll get more printed up for everybody this winter. And then, comment or message us if you want to pick up one or both of our notebooks and mugs to maybe share with somebody, use it to kind of spark the conversation, and we'll arrange a pickup for those items at the Greendale Health Department. So I hope you guys all enjoy your evening. Thank you for taking a couple minutes to learn about our campaign, and I hope we can work together to reduce the social stigma that can too commonly go along with Lori from last week. We all met Lori. She loves her mug. Yay. I hope we can all work together to do something, just little tiny changes in our day-to-day interactions with people that can make people feel more welcome and inclusive and part of our community while they're going through their recovery journey. So I'll end it for tonight, and we'll pick this up next week, Thursday. Come back 5:30 on Thursday, and we'll have another story to share with you. So thanks. Good night.